Hello and welcome to Last Ditch. Welcome to my kitchen. This is my what is functioning as my garden shed at the moment. I do lots of potting of plants in here, which is probably not the most hygienic or recommended way of doing it, but that's the space I have. And if there's been one theme through all of Last Ditch, it is we use the things that we have at our disposal. With that said, I kind of just wanted to talk about the planning that I've been doing, the things I'm thinking about for 2024, and yeah, basically just kind of walk you through the stuff that I'm going to try that's different and where I'm at right now. This kind of goes back to 2023, but one thing that I did that was really, really helpful was I started actually taking notes. So I have a little garden notes book here, and I keep it just over by the sink because I'm frequently in and around the sink and the garbage bin and all of that stuff. And really this is just a way of me capturing what is going on in my garden, the kind of loose notes about weather patterns, where things are at during the growing season. I also draw little pictures in it sometimes, but this gives me a really good account of what the growing season is like and has become, I would say, also just like a joyful thing to participate in, to mark the passage of time, but also my own place in it, and to also recognize how much I am learning and quite literally growing things, and something that's helpful to look back at as well. So I've started to make little notes about sort of what my apartment building layout looks like, where I can grow things. I have a spreadsheet for I weigh absolutely everything that I grow, at least the stuff I remember to weigh. And so I know how much I'm getting out of each plant. Well, not each plant, but I know how much I'm getting out of each crop that I'm growing. And yeah, just kind of keep track of some of those things so that year to year I can look and start to see where there's maybe patterns from year to year, things that maybe are not growing as well as I would like, and just optimizing space. So there's that. Notes. Very helpful. You should do that. Do it. I've started just calling them my January tomatoes. No, you shouldn't necessarily start tomatoes in January, but I finally caved this year and got a grow light. I've been growing from seed for the last few years, and these are now the third generation of the purple bumblebee tomatoes. They look really beautiful, and I've started them in January. The first time it was because I didn't know when you were supposed to start tomatoes, and I just started planting seeds whenever. I'm slowly breaking myself out of that habit and beginning to actually look at what you should plant and when. Imagine. They make those planting charts and seed starting charts for a reason, it turns out. Anyway, I've been super happy with these little tomatoes. They're very productive. I definitely feel like I grow too many. I love tomatoes. There's nothing better than the taste of a fresh grown home tomato. And that being said, there's always a point in the summer where I've got tomatoes ripening in the windowsill. I've got tomatoes in a bowl, usually on this kitchen island. There's tomatoes everywhere. And then I go outside and I pick another giant bowl of tomatoes. I make pasta sauce. I put tomatoes in sandwiches and pastas and as many things as I can. And I still end up with tomatoes that, frankly, I'm just composting. And that doesn't feel good. So one of the things that I'm trying to dial in this year, and I've really figured out through taking good notes, is that I really underestimated how many seeds would germinate, and so I got used to planting dozens of tomato seeds, and then they would all grow up into tomato plants. So I end up with all these 4-inch tomato plants. I'm always trying to give as many away as I can. I still end up with a lot. So this year, this is it. For purple bumblebee tomatoes, I think I count about 7 seedlings in here. I'll probably keep 3 of these. I mean, as soon as I say these things, I start bargaining with myself. I'm like, well, maybe 4 or 5. But I really do need to remember that I have a limited amount of space, and as much fun as it is and as rewarding as these tomatoes have been, because I know they grow well, that's one of the really nice things about saving seeds from plants that you grow in your area, is they'll start to develop characteristics very specific to the area that you're growing them in, which means they want to germinate and they want to grow, and you end up with really hardy and robust plants. That being said, there's only so much room. So that is, we'll check in on that at a later date and see how I do. You might remember from previous videos and previous years, I started growing paprika peppers. So I have just finished actually grinding up the dried ones, and I put them in these little craft bags that I got at the dollar store. I made some little stickers just to make it a kind of a fun thing to give away to friends and neighbors. So I just wrapped that up. This year I am planning on growing a bunch of different kinds of peppers. So most of what I've done and had success with in the past are paprika peppers for paprika, as well as some chilies and cayenne peppers. And this year I'm expanding to grow some jalapenos and a few other varieties that I frankly don't know much about. Mostly for the spirit of experimentation, but where I live, it gets very hot and dry in the summer. So tomatoes and peppers grow well. I do want to try new things, but I also want to get really good at things that I know already grow well. The last thing that I thought I would just share is this is my life. This is such a small fraction of the seeds that I have. It's a problem. What was I going to talk about? There was something in here. Oh yeah, there's a different kind of pepper that I want to try. A large red thick cayenne is one I'll be trying this year. And then I'm also wanting to expand how many carrots I grow. I'd always heard in the past that carrots were something that were kind of finicky and not particularly easy to grow. But it turns out there's a few garden beds around my building that have really poor kind of sandy soil, which carrots thrive in. So carrots, all plants want a relatively fertile soil, but I found carrots are pretty forgiving. And if you're just giving a little bit of organic fertilizer, they'll do just fine. I'm also building up the soil in those beds. But this variety, Paris Market, are just these nice kind of like grape to large grape-sized carrots that grow in these little globes. And so if you're worried about growing really funky carrots where, they're forked in all kinds of different directions, I think it's fine and looks kind of funny and cool, but it's not for everybody. These you can sow a whole bunch and they'll actually, like radishes and beets, kind of cluster and push each other apart. So rather than ending up with a whole bunch of longer carrots that are all intertwined and the roots are all muddled and mixed together, you end up with kind of like these little globe carrots that push each other apart so that they can continue to grow. Those are the main things I'm excited about for this year. I am looking to increase the amount of area that I have to grow, so I've got some more grow bags that I've ordered. I'm not a huge fan of the black fabric grow bags because they you often don't know exactly what the material is made out of and what kinds of all sorts of horrible things might be leaching into your food. At the same time, I recognize that like if you're eating anything or drinking water, it's pretty hard to escape. You want to be mindful of what you're growing things in, and also there's really sometimes you're just limited by your space and materials available, but I am trying to find fabric grow bags that are less filled with horrible things, if possible. They also tend to get a little bit moldy because it's so wet here. There are little funguses that will kind of grow alongside on the outer edges. I haven't had an issue with it, but obviously once you've got fungus things growing, you just want to be mindful about how that might be affecting plants. Again, it hasn't been an issue to this point, but just something I'm thinking about. That's me. That's what's going on in the garden. I will do another one of these when I have more to update, and once these guys grow some more and maybe there's some less snow on the ground.